I'm going to apologize in advance because I have the worst brain fog today. It can add to the chaos. I'm not editing it, who cares?
Welcome to the Marketers of the Universe podcast. I'm Hayden Woods-Williams, Digital Marketing Team Lead here at Brew Digital, and I'll be the host of your podcast today. We've got some interesting topics to discuss. We are kicking things off by discussing the use of personality types when you're building a marketing team or working with an agency, and how knowing how people work and how their brains work can lead to you getting the best out of them. We're also taking a snippet from our latest webinar, Don't Spend More, Spend Smarter, Maximizing ROI from Your Marketing. That happened at the end of August. The link to that webinar is in the description below. I'll also take the time to mention that we're currently offering a free digital marketing review with insights from all of our marketing experts. That is across everything your business is doing in digital marketing. Head over to brewdigital.com/digital-marketing-review. That's brewdigital.com/digital-marketing-review and get a free analysis of your website from our experts. Anyway, let's get on with the podcast.
Hey everyone, Tom Innes here, copywriter for Brew Digital. I'm just here to introduce the section that's coming up now. These are select highlights from a webinar that the Brew Digital team ran recently called Don't Spend More, Spend Smarter, Maximizing ROI on Your Marketing Spend. I hope you enjoy it, and if you want to see the whole thing, go to brewdigital.com/resources, and then in the filter you can select video and it will be there for you in its entirety. Enjoy.
Welcome. We are here for the first webinar of Brew Digital. It's an exciting time for us. Don't spend more, spend smarter. Essentially a guide for you to make sure that where your money is going is at the right place. So how do you maximize ROI on your marketing spend? My name is Debbie. I will be your host. I am the Senior Social Media Manager at Brew Digital.
My name is Rich Harper. I'm the Head of Digital Marketing here at Brew Digital.
I'm Hayden Woods-Williams. I'm the Digital Marketing Team Lead at Brew Digital.
Essentially, when we started preparing for this webinar, one of the things from our research that really stood out to us is just the amount of spend that is going this year and the following years that has been forecasted towards digital advertising. And digital marketing in general. As a person who has been doing social media for the last 10 years, it's a very big call out to me that actually almost 16% or 207 billion is going to go into social media ad spend for 2024. That basically poses a question to me. Do my clients even know where their ad spend is going? Are they going to the right places? And essentially, that is why we are here today to examine really how this is. And with that, our big hitting truths, like myth number one, something that we hear, increasing ad spend will directly lead to proportional increases in conversions and ROI. Team, what do we think about this?
This is a difficult one because if something's working and you scale it up, the likelihood is it's going to improve. But when we look at all the ad platforms and we think of Google Ads, LinkedIn ads, Meta ads, the way that those businesses make money is by encouraging people to spend more money. Where they are loving clients is when you have a campaign that is not optimized or that is too general, that is spending money, and then you scale that up. All we're doing there is putting more money into the ad platform's pockets. I think there needs to be a lot more consideration when it comes to increasing the ad spend. And yeah, when it comes to proportional increases, like 95% of the time, if you're just scaling up that money, not looking at kind of what is working, what isn't working, you're you're just not going to see the right return.
It really comes down to the existing performance of your marketing spend and making sure that you've got proper metrics in place to measure that. When we look at kind of an ROI calculation, we're typically looking for that 5-to-1 ratio. So if you spend £1 on your marketing, you're going to expect £5 back. Now, in an ideal world, if you're tracking at that ROI and you increase your spend, then hopefully your returns are going to be proportional against that spend. Realistically, from a lot of the companies that we work with, say you're tracking at something like a 3-to-1 ROI ratio, you've got a target of a 50k pipeline. But if you're tracking at a 3-to-1 ratio, you're going to have to spend 30k to produce the same result in terms of that pipeline target.
If you've got data from your campaigns currently, go in, look to see what's working. If even beyond your campaigns, look in your product line, your services line, identify where you are making the most money, what product is selling the best, speak to your sales team, identify what is the most profitable thing to sell and the highest volume, and then hyper focus on those kind of areas.
Good point, which leads us to the second one. I should be marketing across all channels, and all channels need equal investment.
The issue that we face, or a lot of companies face, is vying for your audience's attention, especially in today's world. We're inundated with messages as consumers, as prospects, regardless of if it's your B2C or B2B. Think about where your core audience are and where their main attention is, and start to focus your activity in those places. And this kind of comes back to that really understanding your audience. We do a lot of research, a lot of desk research as marketers, and we make a lot of assumptions. And one of the things when I'm talking to a lot of the clients at Brew that often gets overlooked is actually speaking to the customers directly. By speaking to them and finding this out, you can start to then really hone in where that activity should be focused on.
Yeah. You kind of stole a lot of my points there that I was going to say, but I'll kind of build on it. I think I completely agree. Like, looking across all channels and thinking about running to all the different channels, it's kind of like the shiny object syndrome, where there's a new thing, oh, we need to be on that. There's a new thing, oh, we need to be on that. But if you've done your audience research and you understand where your audience are, you can make those strategic decisions to be in the places that are right for your business. You're only going to spread yourself too thin to the detriment of your own marketing if you are trying to be absolutely everywhere.
We move on to the next myth that we always hear. All my focus should be on performance and generating leads. I love this. I know Rich and Hayden are smiling because we hear this almost every day.
I've worked with clients who do this, and sometimes you can't change their mind, because occasionally it comes from higher above the kind of marketer's head, whether it's the CEO, the head of sales, where the idea is just get more leads and get more leads. If we get more leads, we'll get more sales. This does work for a short period of time and leads to us being in this like evil loop. So you need to balance this kind of like performance with solid branding work as well.
To really reiterate there, what Hayden's saying, I think performance and lead generation are valuable parts of any strategy, and they should be part of that makeup. But to focus on them alone, it's a pretty short-term strategy. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to be kind of living in that kind of hand-to-mouth world where you're consistently having to reevaluate your activity, look for high-quality content. Content is so vital to those lead generation campaigns and activities that you're running. And if that content doesn't exist, it becomes even more difficult. We really need to think as businesses, as marketers, about investing in building a strong brand. I don't just mean kind of the colors and the logos and the design of the brand. I'm talking about how you what are your values as a brand? What's your mission? How are you communicating with your customers? What's the customer experience like when a customer finally joins or buys something from you? How do you then ensure that customer becomes a repeat customer? what is the customer journey? Is the customer journey as simple? So thinking about all of those things, and they all kind of tie into that performance lead generation model, because we're very quick to go, oh, the website's here, but we're going to create a campaign landing page and we'll drive traffic here. In certain instances, yes, that works. But can we be taking learnings from that and implementing what we're doing on these conversion pages, landing pages, and driving that into our actual website? Because there's a hell of a lot of traffic going into our main sites. And the majority of those people are going to be in that 97%. They're doing that research. They're looking at who they potentially want to work with. Make it easy and simple for them to have you as a front of mind choice.
You have to be able to, sounds so cliche, align with the sales team, but like try and have a good relationship with your sales team and ask them about what leads are good and what leads are bad. Because, if you're on different pages, then it doesn't matter whether you get 1,000 leads when they wanted 10. If you've got 1,000 of the wrong leads, that's no good. Whereas if you've got 5 of the right leads, that is good.
How to actually make our budget work harder, and I would dare say smarter as well. I think Rich actually mentioned it a couple of times, which is planning. Planning for success really involves a lot of different steps. It's all about from looking at your objectives, making sure that they're aligned, to making sure towards the end that you do offer some value and hook to your customers. But Rich, I do want to push this back to you again.
It varies depending on the size of the business, but often the objectives are not clear. When we're setting these objectives, I think we need to be clearer about what they mean to the overall business and how they align with the overall business objectives. Are we looking to drive revenue? Most companies, let's be fair, from a growth perspective, will be looking to drive pipeline and revenue. So how do we align the marketing objectives with the metrics that your stakeholders, your C-level are actually looking for?
Hayden, do you want to add to what Rich mentioned?
I don't think there is a silver bullet for anything when it comes to marketing. There's no fix-all, there's no special sauce. Communicating with teams outside of marketing to make sure you're aligned, setting those KPIs around things that actually matter to your stakeholders will always put you on the front foot as well, because you spend less time having to justify your existence. And attribution's quite a difficult word in the marketing world at the moment, because it's kind of, we're using it almost as a rope for our own necks, where we obviously want attribution because it allows us to see what's working, but due to privacy, due to all of these different kind of things that are being rolled out, there is less visibility on results than ever before. When you're in B2B, you're not just marketing to one person. You've got a buyer kind of committee, 2, 3, sometimes more people who are involved in the purchase. And you won't understand that as a marketer unless you go and speak to sales. And I know, again, there was a question about where your audience is in B2B. I think the first place to look for your audience is on your website, in your CRM. Who are those people? How can you retarget those people? They are already engaged with your brands. You have data in your Google Analytics instances, in your email automation tools that tells you how your campaigns are performing to those audiences. So look into that data, use that data, and learn from that data whenever you run any kind of campaigns.
I would ask Hayden, we work with companies that are from small scale to large scale, and everyone has different resources and time available for them. For our for the marketers and our clients that are in the space with limited resources and time, which one would you say they need to focus on?
I'm actually going to take this one that's in the middle, around not taking too long, but also not rushing yourself. There is a real talent in, when you're planning your campaigns, when you're running your campaigns, not kind of succumbing to the pressure from inside, even from yourself sometimes, to this campaign has to be live next week. A lot of the time, particularly in B2B, if you're actually honest with yourself, you can give yourself another week to be safe and launch it when it's right. But on that other level, I see other teams that just plan and then they plan and then something changes, so they plan again. And then something else changes, so they plan again. And in the end, they don't do anything.
What is your opinion on using more personal channels for B2B ads, such as YouTube, Reddit, Facebook versus LinkedIn?
At the end of the day, B2B, B2C, B2H, as I've heard in the past, we're selling to people. It doesn't matter. We're not selling to a business. We're selling to an individual. So it doesn't matter if you're a consumer brand or a business brand. You're selling to a consumer. So when we go back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of finding out where the attention is of your audience, that's the big thing. So if their attention, if I'm your target audience, my attention may be on TikTok, then be on TikTok. If it's on YouTube and you spend a lot of time on YouTube, then be there. Think about like the individual as an ICP, not just the job title, the function, the fact they sit in a company that turn over a certain amount of money or have a certain head count. Think about that individual. What does that individual like? Where are they spending their time? So how can I get my message in front of that individual? There's life outside of LinkedIn.
You have to take the time to understand the platform and to try and create content that looks in the right place on those platforms. And again, going back to what we said earlier, think about how you can offer your audience value. So try not to just be sell. Find the things that are going to help them do their jobs better. And hopefully one day remind them that when they needed help, you were there.
Very quickly, is there any takeaway that you want to add to our list?
Take the time to go and actually sit and be your audience for an hour. Go to the places they're going, be that Reddit, be that YouTube, make the searches they're searching, and just see what you see.
I'm going to bring it back to the topic of the webinar in don't spend more, spend smarter. Spending more money is definitely not the answer if you don't know what's working. So stop, take a look at what activity you're currently running, what's working, what isn't working, look where that budget is being spent, and then think about how you can make that budget work 2-3 times harder through smart, focused, and disciplined execution.
And with that said, of course, we would not be ending this webinar with just a small, plug from my team. We do run free reviews for your website and digital marketing. And you know what? The best part of it is that it's actually analyzed by real marketing experts. You have Hayden, myself for social media. We have a great team that from paid and SEO and content. So if you do need a different set of eyes to just look at your marketing, please do reach out. Thank you all for joining our call.
Thanks, Debbie.
Hey again, hopefully you found those select highlights useful, but if you want even more insights from the experts at Brew Digital, then once again, you can go to brewdigital.com/resources and then filter by video, and you will find the webinar there for you to enjoy in its entirety. I'm now going to hand it over to Hayden, Mark and Freya, who are going to be talking about personality types and then deviate massively to talk about star signs. See how they manage that in this next section.
Oh, this is going to be quite interesting because you're my manager and we have completely different personality types.
And that's why it'll be a fun discussion.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think if I've learned anything from having you as my manager is that I need someone with a different personality type to work with, because you pick up on so much that I miss. And equally, I can introduce you to things like resizing your windows on your Mac and different ways to do things and how to right click on your
how to use the trackpad.
Yeah.
I feel like that was actually a really good kind of introduction in a way. Now, Freya, you kind of said a minute ago that you have a very different personality type to Mark, who is your manager. What kind of things does that relationship and the kind of opposing personality types bring out of that working relationship?
I think there's a lot of benefits from working with someone who doesn't have always the same personality type with you. And I think if you look at our team, it's quite interesting because we're almost all split off into pairs. There's almost everybody has one other version. So Emily is the same personality type as me. Selfie and Mark have the same personality type, and it's really interesting to see. But working with someone like Mark is really great for me because I am so focused quite a lot on creativity and getting it out on the page and getting everything down. And I do have dyslexia, so I'm not the most spelling orientated, whereas Mark is incredible. And if I ever need anyone to proof check anything, I'll go to Mark because he will pick up on everything. There's never a point when I've had Mark proof check anything where I've gone, oh, like I'm dumb, or like I'm so silly. Mark always manages to give the best constructive criticism in a way that never puts me down or makes me feel silly. It's just constructive criticism, and that's all there is to it. And I think it's really great.
That's really interesting. And flipping that round from what Freya's said there, Mark, do you think, with your experience of managing people, that taking into consideration something like a personality type allows you to better understand the team around you?
Yeah, absolutely. If everyone was the same, how boring and bland would that be? And we talk a lot about diversity in different industries and in marketing in terms of making sure there's a varied racial profile, making sure there's a good gender profile, that kind of thing. But I think this doesn't really fall under neurodiversity, but kind of different personality types is just as important. Because you need people that are going to challenge, that are going to listen, that are going to be able to think of the things that you've not thought of. And as much as Freya has very much made me blush with the glowing praise there, which I'm probably not entirely deserving of, it does work well in that Freya's more of a creative type and is more kind of prone to, as she says, get things on the page. Whereas I am, any personality tag I've ever taken is just process. One I took actually said, don't forget to remember people are human, not robots. Also, yeah, very driven. I mean, our team, most of us did the 16 personality type quiz. And you look down the list of our whole team, and I think there's only 2 people who have exactly the same type of personality. There's a lot of very similar ones. There's Selfie, who's one of our social media managers. He has the same as me, which is an architect, but whereas I'm turbulent, he's assertive. And quite notably, our only assertive commander is Rich, who is obviously our team manager. So you can see how it does fall quite nicely. But there's a really good blend in there. And yeah, I think that's probably why our team works so well together, is because of all of that blending.
And I think the 16 personality type test is actually so interesting because when I was at university, I'm an ENFJT. So, and that's a more extroverted, I've got Rich's up, but not mine. It's a more extroverted protagonist, or introverted protagonist, sorry. But now that I've started working at Brew and we redid it, I'm actually a more extroverted protagonist. So before I was an INFJT or whatever, and now I'm an ENFJT, which is it's really interesting to track how you develop as you develop through the working world. And obviously at university, I was a bit more introverted, and now working with like-minded individuals, I've become more extroverted and confident in myself. And like Mark said, Rich was the only assertive commander, and finding that out honestly made so much sense. And it's not that you will never be, because you're not an assertive commander, you can't ever be a leader, but it does show that some people who have clear skills that make them eligible to be better leaders.
Yeah. Do you think there's a danger of, doing this with a team? And we're lucky with our team because it actually worked as a bit of a team building exercise as well, because we are all quite close and open as a team. Do you think there's any danger in doing tests like this that you can pigeonhole or put people in boxes?
I don't think so. I've never done one of these with a company and it's not been received well. If nothing else, people are curious. It becomes not necessarily a competition, but people want to know what each other got, what they are relative to each other, and then you start getting into the learnings and kind of the deep water of it, of how best to communicate people, how you find other people communicating with you, that kind of thing. I mean, people suggest like putting your personality type on your monitor when we were all still back in an office, so that people could approach you in the right way, so to speak. So no, it's maybe it could get into a pigeonholes thing, but I think most people will generally take it as what it is. It's a way of learning how to better work together and how to better understand yourself as well. Because some of these, especially the more reliable ones, are terrifying in their accuracy. Yes, I guess there is a risk of it, but I think as long as you take it in the spirit it's meant of openness and learning about yourself and others, it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And you can definitely learn from that. So like my personality type is turbulent, so I need a bit more reassurance, whereas Mark's is more assertive, so he is already self-assured, so it's in a position to give more assurance to me and help support my personality type. And the same with, I think me and Emily we're the people with the same personality type. So our project manager and I have the same personality type. And even that's really interesting because we kind of can support each other, and Mark supports me so that I can support Emily, Emily can support me, vice versa.
Do you think that coming in as a junior member of the team, Freya, who's kind of just starting out their career in marketing, do you think there is a humanizing element of doing tests like this, seeing, senior people being turbulent or senior people being certain personality types that can maybe open up those opportunities to bond?
Yeah, for sure. I think one fact that stuck with me during when we were doing this 16 personality test was that Rich, so our digital marketing team leader, he was like 12% turbulent, I think. And I was like 87% turbulent. And we were literally the opposite ends of the scale, but equally, like, I get along with him really well, and like he's a really great leader. And I think it was really interesting to see that you can be sort of that level of self-assured in yourself, and that's definitely not a negative thing. And equally that other people were at my end of quite turbulent and do need reassurance. And I think as I develop in the industry, I will become more assertive and less turbulent.
So you say that I'm still technically turbulent. It's just I'm in the middle. I'm 57%, so I'm kind of closer to that midpoint. But I think it can factor in as well the kind of day, week, month you're having. So as much as these are very good tools for understanding, they obviously, as you say, they can change over time depending on your experience, but also on your mood. So don't take it as like the gospel. This is how you are and how you will always be. It's just a snapshot of how you're more likely to be at that given time.
Yeah, 100%. Take it with a pinch of salt. It's supposed to be a tool to benefit you, not hinder you.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that it kind of forces you to do is to be a little bit more empathetic when it comes to your colleagues. Considering these personality tests, how do you think people can communicate effectively with those who have a different personality?
I think just be aware of everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses. Some people are going to be more selfless and more helpful, but you need to be aware of not taking advantage of people's kindness and abusing their time. They still have jobs to do. But equally, some people may be more blunt towards you or more sort of dry over Slack, and understanding that is not you, that's just them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you have different ways of communicating.
Yeah, I think that's bang on. And a lot of these tests do dive into how to interact with different personality types, which can be quite interesting. So you can, if you know someone is really, really judgy, then you might want to go in a certain way, whereas if they're more empathetic, you might go a different way. It can be quite intuitive. But like, I'm very heavily skewed thinking as opposed to feeling. So if you come at me and tell me, oh, I think this would be brilliant, I have an idea that this thing is all woolly and fluffy and lovely, and I'm sure it is lovely. I'm absolutely sure it is, but I don't care. Tell me this thing is great because 76% of other users have found it as an improvement, and I am all over that. And so it is how you're reflected, I guess, across kind of the numbers, how they reflect your actual personality. It means that you can go, oh, this person is more likely to respond to facts and figures. This person is likely to respond more to a bit of storytelling. So yeah, if you pay attention, you can use it to learn how to get your point across.
Nice. I really like that. It's kind of got me thinking while you've been talking there. If we can use this information to shape how we work with our own teams, is there any benefit in thinking about these personality types when it comes to building your ideal customer profile, for example?
I mean, what is a persona if not that? So if we've spoken about personas in marketing before, and we've had varying views on their importance, I think it's fair to say. But if you're building it out, absolutely you should be considering who your ideal client is likely to be. Are they likely to be more of one than the other? That doesn't mean that all of your clients are likely to be, I don't know, architects or commanders or entertainers or whatever. But if you know your product is, say, an Atlassian Jira app, to work with one of the things we do a lot of, that person is more likely to fall under like a thinky type profile as opposed to like a personable profile. Not always, but generally. If you can put people into these groups as kind of a loose, broad brush, it means you can tailor. Do you need to be more factual, like I said earlier, or more storytelling? Do you need to be more direct to the point, or do you need to be a bit more touchy-feely with it? If you can add that into your marketing communication, you can reach all your ideal clients that much more effectively.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Mark. And it's also very important to be aware that who you're trying to market to may be different personality types from you. And so you may feel that you want to see, it may be that you think that you want to see, oh, if this or this, or like light, fluffy stuff, but actually the people you're trying to market to, the majority of them want to see cold, hard facts. And whilst that may not align with what you feel you want to see, it's about knowing what your audience want and understanding them.
Following on from that, you know what? Test. We've said this before, so often, test. If you do a storytelling piece and it doesn't land well, try a hard factual piece. If that lands better, then you know more likely that that's the kind of way you need to go going forwards. So it can also inform testing plans.
That's really cool. And I really appreciate you talking on that. Being a little bit of a cynic now, and I'm rarely a cynic. I'm always the chipper Charlie. But is there more of like, is there an argument that, if we start looking at personality tests, then actually we should start thinking about people's star signs when it comes to building teams?
I mean, come on. You steal my role as the cynic of the team and then you come out with that nonsense. The difference being one is based on fact, one is based on an arbitrary date you were born. So let's not confuse science and feeling.
Mercury is in retrograde, Mark.
I will be using that excuse from now on.
Sorry, I had to throw that one in there, and I regretted saying it as soon as I said it. But I'm just doing Libra things. Just to wrap ourselves up.
Yeah, I tell you, if you want to say about star signs, mine is Virgo, the water carrier, which is supposed to be peaceful, and I'm probably the most argumentative person you'll find. So,
I don't know. I'm a Taurus. I'm supposed to be stubborn, and I am really stubborn. So,
just to wrap things up, this has obviously been I think it's been a really useful chat. But for someone listening, it can be quite difficult to maybe look at this and think, how do I make this happen in my business? Should I make this happen in my business? What are a few things that someone can take out of this, pretty fun conversation into their actual kind of day-to-day making their teams and their marketing better?
I mean, first things first, a lot of these tests are free. 16 personalities certainly is. It sounds like we're sponsored by them this episode, but I promise we're not. So yeah, a lot of these things will be done for free. They are, as Freya mentioned, a good team building exercise. And if you can effectively communicate within your team much better, it's going to make your efforts at your marketing more effective and easier as well. You can't produce good work if you don't understand the people doing it.
Yeah, honestly, everything that Mark said it perfectly. Worst comes to worst, it's a team building exercise and you understand your teammates a little bit more. It's not really going to hurt anyone and you can only benefit from these free tools.
There we go. As a Libra who is intelligent, kind, and always willing to put others before themselves, I have to wrap up the podcast there. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed that piece. We hope you found some really, really useful snippets in today's session. And you can go and put them into your marketing strategy right now to start making a difference. We love that you've made it this far through your listen. We love making this content and would love it if you can go and recommend this show to a friend or colleague that you think would enjoy listening. Just to circle back to our first topic from our webinar, please do go and listen to that. That can be found on www.brewdigital.com/resources. We also are currently offering a free digital marketing review at www.brewdigital.com/digital-marketing-review. Thank you to the team for their research and input into today's session. Go check out our past episode, subscribe on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts, and we'll see you on the next one. I've been Hayden, I'm a Libra, and these are the marketers of the universe.
I have cake, I am happy.